Another Dooley Noted Podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. And hello again, everybody, and welcome into another Dooley Noted Podcast. What episode is this, Evan? 121. Those people, not all of them. That sounds like I lived in Tennessee for a minute there. We are from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Of course, it's Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Steve Spurrier will be our guest, as he is on Mondays. We love having him. I'm going to talk to him about storming the court a little bit, because we have, there's a long run of people storming the court on Florida, and then, of course, we saw it on Saturday. I'll talk about that in a minute. We got a lot of things to get to, though. In fact, we're going to do a yes, no, where maybe. I'll see if Coach Spurrier will do it, and if he'll do it, great. If not, I'll just do it to myself. How about that? Yes, no, where maybe. So we'll see about that going forward. We got a lot of stuff to get to, though. I mean, it was a crazy weekend. I know that, like, on Saturday after the basketball game, Karen and I wanted to go out and to dinner and just kind of be with people, because we watched the game at home. I'll be honest with you. We didn't go to the game. We had a chance the last minute and just didn't want to go. It's not that we didn't want to go. It was just would have taken effort. And that's, I hate to say it, but we're kind of that typical fan these days. It's on TV. Yeah, it's okay. And I can watch another game. And I can watch the golf. So we're as guilty as anybody of not doing that kind of stuff. We go to more games than a lot of people, but anyway, I'm off on a different rant. But Gainesville was a little bit crazy this weekend. There's no doubt about it. And we went out that night, and the first place we went was an hour and a half wait, and we ended up going to another place, and was actually pretty good. But eventually the baseball game let out, and that place filled up. So it just was a wild weekend and a fun weekend. And if you don't like sports, probably this weekend was miserable for you. If you do, it was pretty cool. Not all the results went the way you want, but the big one, I think, did. The one that Florida had to have, if you could have said, I want one thing to happen this weekend, it would have been to beat Auburn. Auburn beat the number 2 team in the country. Florida never beaten number 2 on their home floor, and tried to give the game away. And it was an amazing game to watch, because obviously Florida played pretty well at times defensively, especially the first half. But offensively, they're so offensively challenged. Again, that was the 15th time that they have scored less than 30 points in a half. And that was the second straight first half where they scored 22 or less. This team just doesn't have it offensively, and yet the second half starts. They're up 4 because they get, or I think they're up 3. They get a couple of free throws, and then Auburn goes on this run, and Florida looks just awful offensively again, even worse than they were. And they quit playing defense, and Jabari Smith says, I'm going to take this game over. You guys go sit and watch, because I'm the best player on the court. And he is the best player on the court. I think he's the best player in the SEC, and if he's not the number 1 pick, the team is picking first are a bunch of dummies. I don't care. I don't even know who will be picking first. Whoever you are, I guess it'd be the Magic maybe. Take this guy. He is a franchise player. But the point being, Florida got down 8, and you're like, this game's over, is what I'm thinking. But it wasn't. And they fought back, and they got some breaks, and they made some big shots. Tyree Appleby, of course, was incredible. Colin Castleton was incredible. The one McKissick made, I just went, oh, my God, they might win this game if he's making a 3 that rattles like 9 times against the rim and goes in. So they and of course it comes down to the last play. They screw it up again on the inbounds play. The team could not get the ball inbounds. It was driving you nuts. And they played great defense in the last possession. The way they slid and covered multiple people was great. And ball gets knocked out of bounds and they win the game. And you're like, holy cow. And then the students rush on the court. And I mean, I'll just tell you my opinion real quickly. I've thought about it, and I've had to deal with it on a different basis than most of you have, because my daughter was among those people. And I remember, I think I told her the story about the one time I rushed the court. It was a Florida basketball game. They beat Alabama, which I think was a top 5 team. Gene Shai tipped the ball in at the buzzer. This would have been 1970, 73 maybe. At any rate, we rushed the court. Somebody told me that there was a court rushing when, I guess it was when Joe Lawrence hit that 3 from the corner and Florida got to go to the NIT Final Four and they rushed the court. I don't remember it that way, but it doesn't mean it wasn't true. But since then, nobody's rushed the court and certainly nobody's rushed the field. So my thinking is, look, I get it. I get why these kids, first of all, they don't know the history. They shouldn't know the history, other than my daughter, who does know the history. They shouldn't know the history, though. They were 8 when Florida was winning the NCAA tournament. So, and I get the people who say, act like you've been there before. And I'm like, well, they haven't been there in a long time, first of all. Second of all, these students who came to school at University of Florida can't believe all the crap they've had to deal with. COVID, football coach getting fired 1 year after he was in the Cotton Bowl, COVID again, a different COVID, a different thing, basketball struggling, losing games at home, people are getting mad, everybody wants to coach, that coach fired now. And so to feel that good, to do something they'd never done, beating number 2 at home, I gave them a pass, a one-timer, okay? They're going to get fined for it. The University of Florida is going to get fined for it. And let's face it, nobody can rush the court if you don't allow it to happen. Florida, maybe was not prepared to think. I think they've maybe gotten soft on that. But I'm glad that they got to do that one time. If it wasn't my daughter, I probably would have been mad. And look, it wasn't, my friend Dave Salter gave me the great line. I used it 2 different places. I credit him. I'm crediting him now. He said it wasn't really a storming, it was more of a sprinkling. Because there was 30 kids out there, maybe. My daughter was one of them. But I think the fact that, when people say that, I go back to this. 2 years ago, I saw Notre Dame storm the field against Clemson after they beat Clemson. Notre Dame, football, right? I think they have been there before. I don't think they were acting like they'd been there before. They won a few NCs in their time. They've been to the college football playoffs. So, and they stormed the field. North Carolina the other night stormed the court. Okay? I think North Carolina's been there. It's okay. I don't want to see it happen again, personally. And I think Florida will take steps to not let that happen again. But it happened once, and that's fine. When we get Coach Spurrier in here, we'll talk to him about the time, the 97 football game, because he wanted the fans to come down and storm the field. But he's also had the field stormed on him in lovely places like Oxford, Mississippi. So we'll talk to him about that. But huge win. Now, was it a season-saving win? No. It was a season-extending win. Because if they lose that game, which I thought they were, and those of you who listen to the tailgate know that I bet Jeff Cardozo $20 and gave him 6 points, gave him Florida in 6, and I went to the baseball game and paid him on Sunday. So he's been taken care of. I didn't think Florida would win that game, but the fact that they did win is certainly huge. Their net ranking did go up. It did go up a huge amount. This late in the season, your ranking's not going to change that much. I think it went up to 45 or 47 right in there. They're still not in the tournament. They need to win. Here's what they need to do. They need to win one of these last 2 home games. Arkansas, which is very good. Arkansas has won like 10 of 11 or something ridiculous like that. They're the hottest team in the SEC. And they've got to beat Kentucky. They don't have to beat them both, but they can't lose one of those other two games on the road back-to-back, Vandy and Georgia. They need to win those games. So if they go 3-1, they're in. If they go 2-2 in any kind of form, I think they've still got to do something in the tournament. It may only mean trying to win one game. It may mean trying to win two. So we'll see. But at least they're back on the bubble, okay? They were pretty much off the bubble there for a while. And after those two losses, that Texas A&M loss was – now it's almost like you think back to it and go, God, if they could have won that game too, well, that's basketball. You know, in that game, you foul the three-point shooter, he makes all three. In this game, you foul the three-point shooter, and he makes all three. I don't know why. That seems to be a track record, but you just did enough, just enough. What's my motto? Win by one. I always believe in winning by one. Meanwhile, we watched the women's game, of course, Sunday. They lose to LSU. A heck of a battle for Kelly Ray Finley, and now we'll see where they go with her. Meetings tomorrow, and, we'll see what happens with her in terms of because, look, she can't lose because there are a lot of people that want her to come to their school. And Florida's going to have to be either – well, I would say they have to be very aggressive with hiring her, or they could just say – well, we'll get somebody else. We're okay. We think you caught lightning in a bottle. I don't agree with that. And let's face it, they're losing a lot of talent off this year's team. But I think you got to reward greatness, and they've been great this year. We'll see what happens there, and it's going to be really interesting. But they lose that game, and obviously they're down to the two last regular season games of the season before the SEC tournament. Now, baseball, I did go out there on Sunday, saw them lose. Baseball struck out 31 times in 3 games. It felt just like every game last year. These guys just will not shorten up and hit to the opposite field. And, Sterling Thompson had a great weekend, but other than that, there weren't a lot of guys that really did. So the pitching was pretty good. Wasn't great, but they've got a lot of young arms, and this is what Sully was really mad on Sunday. In fact, he didn't let the players talk to the media, but he was mad because if we get up 3-0, we got to separate. We got to keep adding to that lead instead of putting more pressure on the pitcher. So we'll see what happens there. Softball, I want to give a lot of credit to softball. 10 straight. That's the 8th time they've won 10 in a row to start the season. I think Tim Walton should give a clinic to all the coaches at the University of Florida and show them how to get off to fast starts. He does it every year. It's unbelievable. Every year he gets off to a fast start. This is the 8th time they've started off 10-0. And it's not like they're playing softies. They played 2 top 20 teams and beat them both pretty easily. So congratulations to softball. Also, major congratulations, SEC men's swimming and diving, winning their 10th straight SEC championship. That is impressive, and don't ever take it for granted. I know that. We also had the Daytona 500. I don't think we're going to talk much about that. Austin Cindric won it, 23-year-old rookie. Okay, there's that. There's my NASCAR coverage. And the All-Star basketball game was on Sunday, and I will watch as much of these next commercials as I did that game because these commercials took about 3 minutes. That's how much I watched. So I'll watch those, and as you should as well. Our great sponsors, we appreciate them. We'll take a break. By the way, Friday, did I mention Feinbaum's on Friday? Paul Feinbaum is going to be on Friday. Can't wait for that. That'll be a lot of fun. Talk about the craziness of college football. But right now, after this break, we'll bring in the HBC here at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Steve Spurrier will join us. We'll talk to him about storming the court when we come back here on Another Dooley Noted Podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Another Duly Noted Podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from Another Dooley Noted Podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place like this?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
We are here at the University of Florida, where Albert and Alberta are competing in the Gator penalty shootout. Albert is ready to stop the shot at all costs. What a disaster! Luckily, Mountain Law is the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gator. If you have suffered any injury, do not worry, because Mountain Law is going to help you with your recovery. Mountain Law doesn't back down until they reach their goal.
Hi folks, Big Mill here, bringing you the sandwich of the month for February. I know I'm a little late. It's been extra busy here in the store and out and about doing some events. This month we kept it a little simple. I joined the wars, the fried chicken sandwich wars, folks. We got in it. It's a fried chicken sandwich with pickles, Big Mill sauce on our wonderful, famous Martin's potato roll. It comes with fries, folks. Something a little bit different this month. Order it with fries. Come on down and see me at Big Mill's. It's street food dining at its finest.
All right, and welcome back to another Duly Noted Podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios here at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. It's always a pleasure on Mondays to be joined by the HBC, the head ambassador for the University of Florida, and the namesake of this very building right here. Big night tonight for you guys.
Yeah, big night.
Yeah.
Pat, about 2 years ago, Mike Griffith, American Sports Writers Association guy, he called me up and said, we want to put your name on this Coach of the Year award. Goes to a coach first year at his school. And I said, well, I'd love that. I like that because I like those coaches that they don't make any excuses their first year. They just come in and say, hey, we got a team, and away we go. And, of course, we won the SEC my first year here at Florida. So we didn't have any excuses about, new coach first year. And Shane Beamer at South Carolina, Josh Heupel, they're both co-winners this year. They both went 7-6 the first year at their school, and they were picked near the bottom. That's why.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So they sort of exceeded their expectations, and we couldn't figure out which one to give it to, so we gave it to both of them. And they're going to be here tonight. We got a crowd of about 150 coming to the restaurant, and we'll have the presentation. I think Danny Wolf was going to be here, Kevin Carter. Of course, Jed Davis,
Chris
and Doring. And Doring's one of our sponsors of the award.
I know, I saw that.
So they'll get their trophy, and then we're going to have a permanent trophy that stays here in the restaurant.
Well, that's really cool. And, I think it's a great idea to do something like that, first-year coach. And, of course, Billy Napier will be up for it next year. But he's got to win some
eligible.
games. Yeah.
Yeah, Brian Kelly, LSU, got Notre Dame, Riley
Lincoln
out
Riley,
there. Yeah, there's several first-year
You got a lot
coaches.
That's one thing. You're never going to have a year where you go, well, we don't have anybody.
Not like the old days.
No.
Can you imagine? Shed Jordan coached at Auburn 25 years.
Yeah.
Vince Dooley, 25 years. Gosh.
And Pat Dye replaced Shug Jordan and coached for another
15 or so, I bet.
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
more. Kirk Ferentz is the longest coach
Right.
now at Iowa, and they redid him. He wins just enough, you know.
Yeah.
If he ever won 12 in a year and then went back down to 8, they'd say get rid of him. But he keeps it right at that 8-9 level.
Yeah,
Ever
and he
notice
was
that?
able to overcome the kind of the little scandal that they
Uh-huh.
had too, that went on. So it is. I guess some people get comfortable where they are. And
He's never won. I don't think he's ever won a conference
I
championship.
don't think he has either.
But I think he has been to bowl games every year. And,
You have said before. You have said before that if you had to do all over again, you wouldn't have left Florida when you left it, right? But and obviously the NFL was very tempting. You said before you went to the wrong school.
That's right.
It wasn't going to the NFL. It was going to the wrong place. Okay.
That's right. In the back of our minds, all the coaches back in those days, after 10, 12 years or somewhere, if you've had a good run, go to the NFL. Denny Erickson left down there.
Yep.
Butch Davis left. So it was just sort of the thing to do. And the money was almost triple back then.
Sure.
Now the money's the same.
Yeah.
So, gosh, if the money had been the same and you enjoy where you're at, then most everybody stays.
But if you had not left, I mean, have
Yeah.
you ever thought about how long you might have stayed here? I mean,
Well, we had
it
a
could have
good-
been 2 years later. Somebody you want to
No,
go.
we had a heck of a team coming
yeah,
back.
I know.
The Zucker was left a good team. In fact,
They had 18 guys that played in the NFL off that team.
Zucker's team. Oh yeah, he had ball players, and it wasn't like all the talent was gone. Shoot, Rex was back, Jabbar Gaffney, all those guys were back for another year. And I think they did beat Georgia, but they had some losses to a few teams they should have beat probably. But it was a good team Zucker had.
Yeah, Taylor Jacobs was on that team.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a great defense.
Well, you would have thought Zucker would have kept just a couple of the offensive guys and say, hey, how do y'all been doing all
keep
this?
doing
But
it.
now he brought in his whole guy, and they changed the whole thing around.
Von Brecker.
Yep.
Zonbrecker. But during your career at Florida, you saw people storm fields before, and obviously they didn't do it here. But you certainly, and I know that I've always been against people being on the court, storming the court, just because I've been in the middle of it and literally goalpost almost hit me in the head one time.
Yeah.
What is that like as a coach, though, when you see them just pouring out on the field behind you?
Well, the only time I've had it was our team at Duke. And, of course, there was only about 10,000 in the stands, so it wasn't a huge crowd. But the last time it happened was 32 or 3 years ago when we upset Clemson and beat them 21-17, which was a game that started 6 in a row conference wins to win the championship in '89. And the students were the only ones that went out there. So there was probably, 200 or 300, something like that. And they tore the goalpost down, and they paraded them up through the stands there. So that, and one other time, at Duke also, we beat North Carolina in '82, first time in 10 years. So they tore down the goalpost that game also. And so anyway, those
Well,
are
you've seen
the
it
only
happen
two.
against you. You saw it at Starkville. You saw it in Oxford.
Yeah, I guess we have
Well, actually,
at
and then
Starkville. Starkville did, and
Knoxville.
Tennessee
In
did
98,
98. Yeah, they
yep.
came out in 98, I guess. They'd never bothered
I'm trying to think
us.
if I think LSU did in '97.
Yeah, they did too. Yeah, they did
That's
too.
the one that almost hit me.
That's always an honor when if you lost and they tore down the goalpost. That meant they weren't thinking they were supposed to beat you.
You ever get worried about people just storming and running? You never know what can happen there.
Yeah, not usually. I've never had a confrontation at all. Our ball boy now got bonked on the head
He did.
at Mississippi
State, yeah.
And that was in 2000. In 2000 we lost at Mississippi State, and our ball boy, one of our managers, got bonked. So when they came to our place the next year, I think we beat them
51-0.
48 or 51-0.
51-0.
So we gave
I
him
remember
we gave him a game ball. But the 2000 year, that team wasn't near as good as the 2001 team. 2000 team won the SEC.
I know.
2001 team,
Didn't
we
win.
didn't win anything, but we finished third in the nation and didn't win anything. Sometimes it goes like that.
Yeah. It is amazing. And, of course, everybody remembers in '97 when you beat Florida State and you were kind of down there like pushing on the goalposts, like hoping people, hey, come on down, let's do it. But, of course, then Florida would not allow anybody on the field and never have, really.
Yeah, the only time we won the Capital One Bowl. South Carolina beat Nebraska, and I was trying to get the officers, let them, when we had, I guess we had about 10,000 down there.
Yeah.
South Carolina people came to that bowl. But it was the first time South Carolina ever won 11 games in a season, first time ever finishing in the top 10. That's something that people don't talk about much nowadays, finishing in the top 10.
know.
We talked about it every year I coached because it gives you a goal through the end of the year.
Right.
Nowadays, half the teams, if their players can go pro, they don't even care about the bowl games or where they finish. So it's a different day as far as, hey, let's play the whole season, see what we can accomplish, and then we'll look back the rest of our lives and say, hey, we did pretty dang good. But nowadays, they just, what's in it for me next year? That's what they look at. Yep.
And I'm wondering what your take is, too, with the news that came out last week that wasn't a huge surprise, but that they're going to wait another 4 years for this playoff.
Yeah,
and how you feel about that, because, I mean, you obviously coached for a long time in college football, and you know what the guys go through physically. But it almost feels like some of these people are saying, well, they could play 17 games. Well, one team could play 17 games, and that would be a miracle. I don't think that would ever happen.
Yeah, I just always thought they ought to play 8, and that's plenty, I think. You add 4 more, the odds are they probably don't really realistically have a chance to win. But playoffs is what sports is about. I mean, baseball, basketball, NFL football. And every conference champ should have a chance to get in the playoffs and then pick the 3 highest-ranked teams. And that'll give that committee something to do. Anyway, but if you win your conference championship, you got a chance for the national championship. Right now you can win it, and if you don't get voted in, too bad. Yeah.
Well, and it is amazing to me, though. I keep talking about this, but it's amazing to me. It's like the 5 mafia families, with the commissioners of each league, and everybody's only cares about what's good for us. We don't care what's good for the game. We only care about what's good for our conference.
That is a shame. Yeah, I don't like it either, Pat. And it is going to be interesting to see what happens when Texas and Oklahoma come in. And I don't think they're coming until 25 now. I think the Big 12 is going to keep them in there.
Yep.
And so forth. But when Oklahoma maybe starts going 8-4, their fans are not going to be very happy. They're used to 10-1, 11-1, and those kind of things. So
they're used to 11-1 being disappointing seasons because they don't win the national championship.
If they lose 2 or 3 in a year, they're really disappointed. Yeah.
That is amazing. All those years at Florida when you would go 10-2 and everybody go down here.
It was ironic. We played at FSU and at Tennessee the same year. And I was looking back on the 90 season, and that was our 2 losses at Tennessee and at FSU. And then 98, that was our only 2 again at both of those places. And that 98 team was one of the best we had here also. But it didn't work out a couple of games.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to ask you this, too, about this, because I think about pressure all the time. And we just saw it, whether it was dealing with golf. I know you probably watched the Riviera a little bit this weekend. And obviously with the basketball game and with the women's basketball game. And you were great at dealing with pressure. Yeah. You had to deal with it all the time as a player, and then you dealt with it, of course, as a coach. But how do you when you're recruiting guys, how do you find out whether they can deal with it or not? Or do you have to wait and let them throw them into the fire?
Well, you try to do. I tried to do what John Wooden preached. John Wooden preached to his guys, we're going to play the entire game the very best we can. We're going to be in excellent condition to do that. And sometimes you don't even have to look at the scoreboard. He said, we're going to play. Now, us coaches, we'll know what the score is, and we'll call plays according to what the score is. And if we have to, eat a little clock, if we're ahead, things of that nature. And they'll know what score is. But the thing about it, you don't have to really look at the scoreboard. Just play the game the very best you can until it's over. If you can mentally focus on that, then you won't say, oh, gosh, I might win or lose the game on this play. But as coaches, too, you got to stick to a game plan. Oh, I got many games. I wish I'd called something different than that. And then sometimes you call a play, don't look very good, and maybe it goes all the way. But, again, just trying to emphasize to your players, we're going to play the very best we can, and then when the game's over, we'll look up and see how we did.
And that you talk about game plans and changing during the games, but I mean, like you have to adjust some, but you still don't want to get away from the things you practice as a team all week, right?
Yeah, don't completely change who you are, but obviously in your game plans, offensively and defensively, you try to plan for what the other team does and try to have a good play for what they do. And we used to come to the ballpark with a whole bunch of different plans because we didn't know what defense they would try to emphasize that day. But they'll let you know their game plan pretty early and then go from there.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting tonight here at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill as we present. Is it called the Spurrier Award, the Steve Spurrier Award?
It's called the Steve Spurrier Coach of the Year Award.
Coach of the Year Award.
Yeah, that's what it's called. And
I mean, you went through obviously 2 first years or 3 first years as a college.
In
coach,
college,
right?
3 is college, 3 is a pro.
Florida, South Carolina, yeah.
I've had 6 first years as a and won the opening game in all 6 years, by the way.
Oh, really?
Even with the Redskins. In fact,
I was at that game. I covered that game.
Arizona game?
Yep.
Yeah, Shane played that game.
Yeah, and then Danny kicked off. Remember that? He
That's
kicked
right.
off because the kicker got hurt.
He got hurt kicking.
And Danny goes, I can kick off. And he
squibbed it down.
went about 9 yards.
Yeah.
I have to give him a hard time about that.
Yeah, that is interesting. We did. We won the first game everywhere in my 6 stints as a head coach.
So your first game at Florida, what are any butterflies before that game?
No, not really. It was Oklahoma State,
Yep.
and they were pretty easy to have a good play for. They would play a certain defense against your formation. And I told Shane and the guys before the game, I said, we're going to have a field day on these guys. We're going to go up and down the field. All you got to do is play the way you're capable.
Right.
So Shane was ready. Shane never played in his life, hardly.
I know.
Except high school. I think he'd been here 2 years. I don't know if he'd got to play in or not. But he was cool. And the moment was never too big for Shane. Or Danny or Rex, all those guys that played well.
Right.
The moment wasn't too big, yeah.
Was there a first year? I mean, you talk about what a coach goes through in his first year, and that's why this award is being given. Was there a first year that was a struggle for you in any way, or was it all you kind of came in, you changed culture?
Well, the only first year that we had a ton of bad luck or whatever, my first year at Duke.
Yeah.
We won 3 of the first 4, and then we got in conference play, and we lost the game by 1 point to Maryland, 2 points to NC State, 47-45, and then we lost 30-27 to Wake Forest, 3 in a row like that. And I called on Coach Ellenson to come up and talk to the team. In 1987, we played North Carolina, beat them 25-10, and finished 5-6. And really, that team was about as good as all 3 of the Duke teams. The other one went 7-3-1, and the other one went 8-3, and this one went 5-6. But if we'd won that 1 or 2 point game and gone 7-4, Steve Sladen would have been ACC Player of the Year. We led the conference in offense that year also, all 3 years. But man, we lost those. We lost a couple of close games. It was unbelievable. Maryland scored 16 points in 5 minutes, made both their 2 point conversions to beat us 23-22. So that was on me. I don't know. We tried to run the clock out and didn't do a very good job.
It's funny that you mentioned that because the first year of Ron Zook, Tommy Tuberville did that, scored twice and got 2 2-point conversions and forced overtime. Now Florida won in overtime, but
Did he?
But that was So that was when you're up 16, you think, well,
15, yeah.
Yeah, we're in good shape, but you can get those 2 point conversions. There's no question about it. Well, we're looking forward to tonight and see what kind of celebrities show up. I'm looking forward to seeing. I'm looking
Danny
forward to seeing Danny. And I've never met Shane Beamer or Josh Heupel, so I'm hopefully meet both those young men. Have you met them at all?
Oh yeah. We've. I heard Shane at South Carolina.
Right, you did. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I heard him for, I think in 07 through 10, 7, 8, 9, 10. He was there 4 years, and then he got a chance to go coach with his dad.
Yeah.
And which was wonderful. And I look back, had a chance to coach with Steve Jr., about 15 years. He was a grad assistant here.
Yep.
And then receiver coach with me there at South Carolina. And then Scotty even coached with us a few years as a grad assistant and so forth. So, Beamer got the job, and they.
Now, when you're hiring Shane Beamer, I mean, how much is his name a factor in that? Or are you totally looking?
No, he was
I know he's a
special.
good coach,
He was a
yeah.
special team coach, and we were looking for one. And he was at Mississippi State, and his name popped up somehow or another. So he calls a guy who tells me, and then you make contact. And, so away we go.
That's the way it is. It's not usually.
Oh, that's who you know. Yeah, you got to know somebody, call somebody, this, that, and the other.
Yep.
Seems like.
Cool. Mm-hmm. All right, Coach. Well, I know you want to get ready for your fun night tonight.
Right.
A lot
Basketball, big win for basketball.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it didn't save the season, but it made it so it's savable.
I think so.
Yeah.
Our guys play hard, and, of course, Appleby made all those shots the second half, won it for us. Our women did not shoot free throws.
No, which is unusual for them.
Very
I don't know
unusual.
what happened there.
Yeah, we just
Like Kiki, I think missed 5 in a row at one point.
yeah.
And she's, you expect it's automatic. So
Yeah, I think we got good basketball coaches. I really do. And the team plays so hard, play with effort. That's how to me, what the good coaches, they get the most out of their players. They can't shoot free throws for them.
No,
and they got to make those on their own.
You got a pretty good softball coach, too. What's going on over there?
Yeah, what happened to our baseball team? Were you there?
I was there. They look a lot like last year's team. Struck out 31 times in 3 games. They're all trying to hit homers.
That's what I noticed that last year.
Yeah,
they keep swinging for the fences, and I don't know. That's but it was a disappointing opener. I think
they're a pretty good team. Liberty's pretty good. Yeah, but still, they better adjust their approach at the plate.
Yeah.
And I know it means something to you because you and I have talked about this before. Florida men win the SEC swimming title for the 10th straight time, and around here, people like me and you, SEC championships mean something. They are important to us.
Heck yeah. Yeah, we're learning those football ones are not as easy to come by as they used to be. And
it was almost like automatic every year. Florida, SEC championship. It got to be almost you expected
teams. Yeah, I read something in the paper the other day too, Pat. It said the Florida fans are the 5th worst in America. Did you read that?
I did.
It said 5th worst, and sometimes you got to almost agree with that. Sometimes we bitch and complain maybe a little too much. When the team goes out and doesn't play with effort, doesn't try to tackle, that's where we should bitch.
Exactly. Exactly.
If the basketball team's playing their hearts out and they're hustling, diving for balls and all that, that coach has got them playing. And sometimes the outcome goes your way and it doesn't. But I like to judge coaches on the effort and attitude of their team a little bit more, sometimes in wins and losses. And then when they get maybe some star players, some outstanding shooters, then those championships come a little bit more regularly.
It's like with Billy. Billy went through that 5-year stretch where he couldn't get out of the first weekend. Then he wins 2 national titles. So you're patient with him. But I have a saying: nobody suffers winning like Gator fans, and that you wouldn't have believed Twitter after that win. Everybody was complaining because of how they almost blew it, and the fans rushed the court. We don't do that here in Florida, and I'm just like, just enjoy that you won a big game. Against the number 2 team.
I think, didn't they say Bruce Pearl has lost 4 or 5 in a row here?
Well, they've lost 14 in a row in Gainesville. And he's lost 4, I think 5, that was his 5th, I think.
Yeah, I think he was 0-5 here, something like that. He's got a mental block here.
He does.
He does. Block on the Gators.
And that's a good thing. We're all happy for that. All right, Coach Spurrier, we love having him every Monday, and we appreciate him. We'll be back with more of Another Dooley Noted Podcast. We have to get to the Leonardo's and Millhopper Quick Picks, the hand law of 3 things, Adam's Rib Go to Go, Gator of the weekend. We didn't even talk that much about softball, but it may be a softball player. And, of course, all the other things we do here on Another Dooley Noted Podcast, presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
We are here at the University of Florida, where Albert and Alberta are competing in the Gator penalty shootout. Albert is ready to stop the shot at all costs. What a disaster! Luckily, Meldon Law is the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. If you have suffered any injury, do not worry, because Meldon Law is going to help you with your recovery. Meldon Law doesn't back down until they reach their goal.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from Another Dooley Noted Podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What would give you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where, everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Hi folks, Big Mill here bringing you the sandwich of the month for February. I know I'm a little late. It's been extra busy here in the store and out and about doing some events. This month we kept it a little simple. I joined the wars, the fried chicken sandwich wars, folks. We got in it. It's a fried chicken sandwich with pickles, Big Mill sauce on our wonderful, famous Martin's potato roll. It comes with fries, folks. Something a little bit different this month. Order it with fries. Come on down and see me at Big Mills. It's street food dining at its finest.
Another Duly Noted Podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
All right, welcome back to Another Duly Noted Podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. And Coach Spurrier, we appreciate him being in here on Mondays, and I think, it's like I said, I can have him here every day of the week and never run out of things to talk to him about, and that'll be a pretty cool thing tonight. I'm looking forward to seeing Danny and seeing Kevin Carter and people like that. And again, I haven't met. I knew he had hired Shane Beamer. I don't know why I asked him if he had met Shane Beamer. He hired him. Of course, he met him. But anyway, it'll be a really cool deal there. So looking forward to that. All right, we have got all of our great stuff that we always love to do with our sponsors right now. Let's start off with Leonardo's at Millhopper. Quick picks. Kyle Cohen and the great people over at Leonardo's at Millhopper. Nobody qualified this week. The question was quite simple. How many games do the Gators win this weekend in baseball? And they won one. Well, nobody guessed one. People guessed two. People guessed three. Nobody guessed one. We have some qualifiers from last week, but we'll probably pick them in a couple of Fridays, I would think. Man, I think Robbie will be on next Friday. Like Paul Feinbaum's this Friday, and then Coach Spurrier on Monday, And then I think Raleigh will be the following Friday, and then we'll probably go ahead and pull a winner of the Leonardos at Millhopper Quick Picks. So you need to get in. You need to qualify. And here's what it is. Florida's got 2 midweek baseball games this week. They play at Stetson, and they play UNF. At Stetson's always tough. UNF will come into Gainesville and try to win their World Series, which is the way they treat it. So if your answer is automatically 2, you may want to rethink it, but we'll see how they do. Again, you got midweek pitchers, but that's the question. Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks. Florida, 2 midweek games at Stetson and UNF. And I know that a lot of people, we've had a lot of contact with a lot of people that are in the contest, and they've asked me, they said, well, look, the problem is by the time I download it, it's already, the games have already been going on, but I mean, this is Tuesday night, the first one, so hopefully everybody can get in and try to qualify for the contest, and we appreciate Kyle over at Leonardo's at Millhopper. All right, it is time for hand law, 3 things, and because we have a monitor out, I have to look at my phone to do it. Hand law, of course. We appreciate Chris Hand and all the great work he does, and just a great guy. 3 things is presented by Hand Law, Florida law firm which helps clients with government. You can learn more about Hand Law by visiting its website at www.hand.law. The firm is available for consultation in Jacksonville. And let's go with number 1, and that is Charlie Strong, who is going to Miami. I don't think it's been finalized yet. I talked to Charlie on Saturday. He said, look, I need something to do. He says, I'm not going to financially I don't need something, but I just want something to do. I just can't sit around here. And so Miami made him a good offer. He said, hey, Florida never called. Florida never asked. And I get it. Billy Napier doesn't have a relationship with Charlie Strong, although he didn't really have, I don't think, a relationship with Mike Peterson. In fact, I'm pretty sure Coach Spurrier is the one who told him, hey, here's a guy you should go get, and he went and got him. But so I get it. But, Charlie Strong, it would have been the answer to some of their problems here for the last 2 years. But they chose not to do it. I want to see Charlie, again, this is like, to me, Charlie Strong is my version of the college football 12-team playoff, in that I want it, because for selfish reasons, because I want Charlie Strong back in Gainesville. I love him. He's one of my favorite people in the world. Love his family. So that's why I want it. But I also think it would be great. Same with the college football playoff. I want it because I get to see more great games, and I also think it would be great for the game. Anyway, Charlie's going to be at Miami. Don't forget, in 2 years, the Mighty Canes will be coming into the Swamp. And you never know, but Charlie likely will be the linebackers coach for Miami, running through that tunnel with that U on, and that's gonna make me a little ill. I got to admit, that's going to make me a little verklempt. I may actually blow chunks. Number 2, the Juwan Howard thing. Juwan Howard, we talked about it a little with Coach Spurrier. I did want to just say, you're a coach, and you take a swing at a coach, and you're going to get a major penalty. And we'll see. It may be coming out as we speak. If you'd taken that same swing at a player, you probably would never coach again. But, Greg Gard is also part of the problem that happened here. Although the whole thing with calling that timeout, I have no problem with that. They're pressing. I mean, whatever. Just look. Here's the thing: if you don't want any incidents like that, just call the game. Just say, "Hey, look, they're up 15 with 2 minutes to go. They've won it. Let's just walk off the court." Otherwise, you have to take the consequences for whatever happens. Not only that, but to me, it's just amazing as you want that everybody's now freaking out about the handshake line again. And I know Jeff and I are going to have a big serious, because he doesn't think there should be handshake lines. He thinks that there's too much opportunity for things like that happening. Well, yeah, I get with players that there is an argument against the handshake line now. Maybe its time has passed, but that's not why it happened. It happens because the people in the handshake line act like asses. And that is the case with Juwan Howard. He was an ass. Maybe Greg Gard was an ass too. I mean, you can make that argument. The bottom line, though, is your coaches, you're supposed be better than that. So we'll see what happens. My prediction, and I don't know. It could have just come out, and you say, my prediction is Howard will be suspended for the rest of the regular season, and Greg Garr will be suspended for 2 games, which kind of is they got 4 games left, but that I don't think they'll be the penalties will be that severe. But I tell you what, he drew back a closed fist and then opened it up for the slap. That's what I saw. And finally, number 3. I talked about this Monday, the whole thing with the Saudi Golf League. But through the weekend, we just got more and more of a realization, and I'm not saying they're right or wrong, how much most golfers on the tour do not like Phil Mickelson. I thought it was the other way around. I thought everybody loved Phil, and I think that's the perception everybody has because Phil is so gregarious and does all these things and is on Twitter and everything, whereas I thought everybody didn't like Tiger because he won everything and he was so cocky and everything. No, it's the opposite. We're finding out it's the opposite. And even DeChambeau came out today and goes, hey, everybody's saying I'm going to this tour. I ain't going to that tour. I'm going wherever the best players are. Now, if all the best players go to that tour, I'm going to that tour. But that's not what's going to happen. It could be that Philly Mick, who put this league together along with Greg Norman, it could be our 1040 pairing, Phil Mickelson and Greg Norman. All right, everybody, that's great. And our 1048 pairing is Pat Dooley and Evan Miller. I mean, it could be something like that because I don't think the great players are following Phil anywhere. And it's just kind of weird. It's been a weird dynamic. The whole golf tournament this weekend was about that and not about who won it. Joaquin Neiman, who was sensational out there at Riviera. All right, so that is the hand law 3 things. We always love the hand law 3 things. We now go to the Adams Ribco to go Gator of the weekend. And I went with softball. I hinted that. I went with softball. I knew I'd have a lot of options, and certainly there was a lot of basketball. I could easily have done Tyree Appleby, but we've done a lot of basketball ones. So I went with softball and Kendra Falby, who is now hitting .548 for the year. She is unbelievable. 26 total bases, leads the team, and she's an outfielder from, and I saw this, Odessa, Florida. And I went, Odessa, you mean Odessa, Texas? I looked it up. Odessa, Florida is this tiny little suburb city outside of Tampa, northwest of Tampa. I've never been to Odessa or Odessa, Texas, either one. But Kendra Falby has been just lighting it up, and it's great to see what she's been able to do so far. And again, the Adams Ribco to go Gator of the weekend. We have a lot of options every weekend going forward now because baseball, softball, basketball continues, women's basketball continues. It's going to be interesting to see where Florida ends up going in women's basketball in the tournament, where they, what seed they end up getting. And again, they've got to keep the pedal down. I know that we've talked about this, that Florida kind of wanted Kelly Ray Finley to stay focused. I know I'm getting off on a tangent here, but to stay focused on this team and not worry so much about the future. But they are now focusing on the future for her. I will say that. All right, so that is the Adams Ribco to go Gator. The weekend is time for our Alex Wesley Construction 12-pack. This is the last one. We appreciate Alex Wesley Construction for being a big part of the show. They will be back hopefully in football season. And but we figured we'd finish with what we threatened to do, which was the over-unders for all the teams that aren't Florida and Vanderbilt. Not Florida because I gave it to you a couple of weeks ago. I said the over-under was 8-4, and not Vandy because nobody cares. So these are the over-unders as I see them. Alabama, I would say, is an 11, and so is Georgia. I think both those schools, I wouldn't put either one of them at 12. I think there's a loss potentially for both schools, and again, that's just a push. And they're not going to lose 2, I wouldn't think. And I would still say A&M's a 10. A&M is going to be interesting this year to see how good they are with all this great talent they brought in. But again, the quarterback situation is still a little bit iffy. Number 4, I put LSU at 9, and a little bit of that's Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly's going to have great athletes, and he's a better coach than the last guy they had. But I still see it as being any better than 9. Arkansas at 8. Kentucky at 8 and Tennessee at 8. All three of those teams at 8. And I think that's pretty close to – I wouldn't be surprised if that all three of those things happen. Ole Miss at 7. I think Ole Miss will fall back a little bit without Matt Corral. I think he was more than just a good quarterback. He was a guy who kind of was the heart and soul of that team. So I think there'll be a little bit of a drop-off. Not a big one, just a little bit of one. So South Carolina, 7. Again, Shane Beamer will be here tonight at Spurs. We'll see him there. Auburn at 7 as well. Brian Harson's situation, all the guys, the coaches, the players that have left, he somehow saved his job. It can't go well. It's not going to – we know it's going to end. It's just going to be a matter of when. And then Mississippi State and Missouri at 6. That would be the over-under I would put for them. So I don't have anybody – Vanderbilt obviously would be the one team. But other than that, I don't have anybody that I don't think is going to be bowl eligible. So it could be another year with 13 bowl eligible teams. So we'll see how that all works out. That's our Alex Wesley Construction, our final 12-pack of this year, but we'll be back with one again when we get to the football season. And we appreciate Alex Wesley for all the great stuff he's done. All right, it's time for I wanted to do Yes, No Way, or Maybe, sponsored by Big Mills Cheesesteaks with Coach Spurrier, but we were kind of near the end of his time, so we'll try to do one again on Monday. And again, we appreciate our new sponsor, and I'll just do it myself. How's that? Yes, No Way, or Maybe. Number 1, Florida will make it to the tournament. That's definitely a big maybe. They've got to win at least one more of those 2 big games, and they can't lose 2 of the not big games. If you go 3-1 the rest of the way, you get to 20 and what would be a 20 and 11. I think you're in. I think you're in, even if no matter what happens in the SEC tournament. If you don't win one of those 2 games against really good teams, Arkansas and Kentucky, and you do win the other 2 games, you're probably going to have to do some work in the tournament. And again, a lot's going to depend on who you draw. If you draw Georgia in your first game, it ain't doing you any good. Beating them is not going to do you any good. So it'll be interesting. Number 2, Kelly Ray Finley is Florida's coach next year. That's also a maybe. I think there's a lot of negotiations going on here. A lot of people are after her. A lot of people are already jacking up the amount of money they want to pay her that they'd already asked her about. That's very much a maybe going forward. And then number 3, Rams or Bengals. Chances either one makes it to the Super Bowl next year. I think the Rams have a better chance. If the Bengals do what everybody in the world is telling them to do, nobody is telling them to do anything different, and get an offensive line, I think they can be back. I think Burrow's that kind of player. But if they don't, Joe Burrow is going to go the way of Andrew Luck. There's no question about that. So that is our Yes, No Way, or Maybe, sponsored by, of course, Big Mills Cheesesteak. If you go to Big Mills and you tell them you listen to the Another Dooley Noted Podcast, guess what? You get free French fries with your order. How good is that? So maybe I need to go get some French fries. Maybe I can go during the break here. So we'll do that. All right, so finally, Hesser and Kipke Monday spreads. We got a lot of really interesting Monday night games. And I want to start out because I know Ken Hesser loves his Penn State Nittany Lions. They are 3-point underdogs against Maryland. Gator fans are probably going to root for Maryland because Florida played Maryland during the year, and every little bit helps with your net ranking. But I'll be rooting for Penn State because I like Ken. He seems like a great guy. And he was here actually, was it Saturday night? I think it was Saturday night. I know that. Or maybe it was Friday night after we were pumping up Spurs on our show. Florida State plays tonight. And here's an interesting phenomenon. I think I'm at the point now, I've been rooting for FSU to win all year because Florida beat them and it would help Florida's. I can't root for them anymore. They're terrible. They're awful. They are 1-point favorites at Boston College. Boston College is really bad. But FSU's bad and they've had bad luck. It's a bad combination. They've had a bunch of guys hurt. And certainly against Duke, they had 2 of their best players are out. So Georgia Tech is getting 8.5 points at Syracuse. What was that? That was Siri. Oh. I thought you were talking to her. Oh, okay. Georgia Tech is getting 8.5 at Syracuse. Indiana at Ohio State. And again, there's a lot of these games here where you're kind of interested because you want teams at Florida play to win because it's who you beat, who they beat. But Ohio State is giving 6 points to Indiana, but Ohio State's at home. They had a tough loss the other day. That was bad. West Virginia, 4 points at TCU, getting 4 points at TCU. West Virginia's really kind of down this year. And Baylor giving up 5 at Oklahoma State. There's another team. And the funny thing is, Florida played a tough schedule. When you think about it, Oklahoma State, Maryland, Florida State. I'm going blank on somebody else. Obviously they beat Ohio State. That's 6 really. But the trouble is those teams have not played well. And so it makes Florida look worse in their net rankings. But, hey, if you win enough games, you'll get in the tournament, and that's all that matters. Right now, Florida's not in. Go win some games and get in. That should do it then. I think we covered everything. All right. So appreciate Coach Spurrier being in. Don't forget, Friday, Paul Feinbaum joins us. Ought to be a lot of fun. He'll be joining us on the Big Mills Cheesesteak Zoom line. So that's also new for you there. So we got a lot of things going on here. And I hope you guys have enjoyed the show. We appreciate all of our great sponsors and all of our great guests and all the great people who listen, watch on any of the 39 platforms, YouTube, Facebook Live, all that. And I certainly appreciate my producer, Evan, who does such a great job. Until next time on Friday, we will be back with another edition of Another Dooley Noted Podcast. Until then, I'm Pat Dooley. I'm deep, I'm way back, and I am out of here.